Good morning, everyone. Today we're checking out a brand new video from the Film Test, even though it is a little old, on that the Duolingo has lore exists, and it's actually creepy. Reason why we're checking out a video like this is because it was recommended to me, well, it was asked of me by Eventi Rayen. And I'm not sure if that's how to pronounce the person's name, and I do apologize if I have mispronounced it. By the way, let's hop in and see what these guys were able to figure out about this green owl.
Duolingo has lore. Wait, hold on. Duolingo has lore? Like
Yeah.
the language learning app?
Yes.
You heard that right, and this cute little owl is doing more than kidnapping people and breaking knees to get you to learn Portuguese.
Oh,
Nah,
damn.
His endgame? Saving the world.
Huh. Go on.
Hello, Internet!
Ooh,
Welcome to
Phoenix.
Film Theory, the show where you're a
I like.
theorist or you fear us. So normally this is where I'd ask
Love
you
'em.
guys if you'd heard of the subject of today's theory, Duolingo. But honestly, I'm almost certain you have because this theory has been requested for months. Yeah, in our comments and on the subreddit, you loyal theorists have been asking us to look into the lore of this app, and y'all delivered. Because of your recommendations, we've actually been kicking around this theory for a while now, trying to find the
Really?
best way to
How
approach
long?
it. And I mean, with their mascot duo faking his death in February, trying to get people to do more of their lessons, now is a better time than ever to dive into the story they've
If you want to know how he faked his death, Cybertruck.
been building over there. And best of all, Duolingo themselves
I'm not
actually
kidding.
reached out and asked us if we wanted to partner and sponsor a video. And with everything going on, the timing could not be more perfect. If you somehow don't know, Duolingo is a language learning app that helps you learn different languages at your own pace.
I did
Whether you're a
use it for a
complete
short
noob,
time
someone who's
back
taken
in
years
school.
of classes, or a fluent speaker, Duolingo's courses offer something to help you learn or just sharpen your skills. And their language variety is huge. You can learn everything from German to Arabic to Japanese to Hawaiian. They even have courses.
Yeah, back in school, oh my god, they have Klingon. Back when I was in school, gave us a choice of it. I wanted to use it to try and learn on my father tongue of German. Then I kind of dropped off.
For Klingon for all us fantasy and sci-fi nerds out there. So statage! Now, all of that, it's great, cool,
That's
awesome even. But the longer you use the app, the more you realize that its little characters are, well, actual characters. Through its interactive features like stories and radio, you realize that they have names, backstories, loves, hates, dreams, and fears.
That is
But
true.
none have more character or story than Duolingo's main mascot, Duo
The
the
bud.
Owl. Yeah, if you haven't seen, Duo's become something of a meme in recent years, bothering learners through push notifications, phone widgets desperately trying to get your attention, and just
Yeah.
off-the-wall marketing.
Hi, Duo again. Missed your Korean lesson. Know what happens now.
Squid Game?
Yeah, Duo is very passionate about making sure you do
Okay.
your lessons,
Okay.
no matter what. But now, as of the writing of this theory, Duolingo has announced that Duo the Owl has passed away, probably, quote, waiting for you to do your lessons. To the sadness of the internet, pop singer Dua Lipa and Master Chief from Halo. Yes, really. By the time
Really?
this video is out,
You can't
he'll
be
have
serious.
miraculously come back, I'm sure, and please forgive me, it takes us weeks to actually make videos. But I wanted to take this opportunity to finally dive into the lore of Duolingo. And what I found? Well, it's absolutely mind-blowing. Let's just say that all of the increasingly crazy stunts and desperation for you to learn your languages might be because Duo sees a dark future for us, and he's trying to save the world. Take 5 minutes to do your language
Go ahead.
lesson, loyal
Explain.
theorists, and let's talk this one through. So to start out with, let's go over the baseline
I am
universe
curious.
here in the Duolingo app, because like I mentioned at the top of the episode, there's a whole world of characters in here. Now, when diving into the actual lore, the best way to start was by jumping into the app itself. And thankfully, there are features that really give us insights into the characters, and a lot of it is just really cute. For instance, some of the Duolingo radio segments have us listening to
Oh.
podcast interviews between some of the characters, and one of them was about watching movies with family.
Kevin, tell us about watching movies with your grandma.
You know, we just love to hear that here on Film
That's actually
Theory.
kinda
Elsewhere,
nice.
in the stories segments of the app, we see little storylines involving the characters play out, including one with the jock Eddie going on a date, only to realize that he completely misread the situation.
Do
Ah.
you always talk about work so much on a first date?
This isn't a date.
It's a job interview.
In case you were wondering, Eddie did not get the job.
So, can I have the job?
Definitely not.
Damn,
So
sorry,
what can we
Eddie.
glean from all of this? Well, first off, we realize that each of the characters here helping you learn to say things like Je suis un chat actually have names, relationships, and interests. Besides the mascot Duo the Owl, you have the
What the-
unenthused Lily.
I'm sorry, what the hell was that? Why was Duo so cheeked up on a Monday afternoon? I know it's Thursday when y'all are seeing this, but I record on Mondays. And so, yeah, right now it's a Monday afternoon for me. Why was he so cheeked up? It's not Tuesday.
And her best friend Zari, both of whom go to a school where
okay.
Oscar teaches art and Eddie teaches gym. Eddie has a son named Junior, and they actually live in the same apartment building as Zari and their friend Vikram. Then there are the best friends Bee and Lynn, Lynn's grandmother Lucy, and my personal favorite character, Falstaff, the talking bear. He wears a scarf. I would die for him.
Is he eating purple paint? I hope the answer is no.
There's a bunch of small stuff hidden in these stories that create a world here
Boba.
in the Duolingo verse. Junior owns a pet fish and parrot and has a crush on Lily. Lily really likes pirates and is allergic to horses. Zari loves cats but is afraid of parrots and spiders. That sort of thing.
Oh,
It's fun.
okay.
Not much about Falstaff the bear though, other than the fact that he loves snacks, but I mean, that's just hashtag relatable. Anyway, these mini
Yeah.
storylines continue out to other parts of Duolingo's marketing, like their YouTube channel.
Today on Lily's terrifying experiments in social awkwardness, it's
Social awkwardness?
Pesos.
Yeah, if you head over to their YouTube, you'll find a series of animated shorts featuring each of the main Duolingo characters, teaching you quirks
Wow.
and factoids about communicating in other languages and cultures. They're fun, but
That is
if you
pretty
browse
useful.
through the other videos on this page, you'll start seeing, well, the videos start getting stranger
Oh
and
my God,
stranger.
what the fuck
They're
was that?
trailers for parody TV shows,
In Duo's kitchen, it's either speak Italian
Non parlo italiano.
or get chopped like scallions.
That is a sharp knife, chef.
or a parody anime intro called Lost in Translation, or a 2-hour lo-fi live stream. Huh, that's a great idea, isn't it? Yeah, okay. This is really the green
Why was there so much ass?
feather elephant in the room when you're talking about Duolingo lore and why everyone was so keen on us covering this stuff. If you
Yeah,
somehow
no.
haven't seen
Yeah,
it yet, the Duolingo
I need you to explain, because now I am confused.
mascot Duo the Owl is pretty much a viral
What's up with
megastar
this
at this
owl?
point, all because of crazy videos like this.
The only thing I want on Christmas Day is my mom and dad who were taken away by an owl with a BBL. You said I should
No!
have
No, you can't be serious.
What? Yeah, if you go and look, the story for Duolingo involving their beloved mascot, Duo the Owl, has become, eye-catching is a word, unhinged is another,
They've
but
accepted it.
certainly effective. And this is what prompted everyone to ask us to cover the series. But the more I dug into it,
Oh
the
my
more I
God.
realized that Duo didn't become this unsettling force of nature overnight. No, this has been a long time coming, and we just didn't see it. Early on, Duo was a very chill dude. He was more of an encouraging, enthusiastic coach than anything else,
Yeah,
cheering on and
well, a
guiding
cheerleader.
learners to complete their daily Duolingo lessons.
You
So,
just want
how
people
did
to
Duo
talk.
start a descent into darkness? Well, according to Duolingo's chief design officer, Ryan Sims,
The number one thing Duo wants most in the entire world is for you to do your lesson today.
and the longer and longer Duo felt
And
this
that's
way,
it.
the more passionately and seriously he took it. Like, if you add the Duolingo widget to your phone home screen, Duo will start the day pretty chill. But the longer and longer you wait, and the closer and closer to midnight it gets, the more stressed
now?
and desperate Duo becomes. Thanks to push notifications, Duo was able to remind learners to do their lessons. But if you've lapsed on your lessons or missed a few, he started guilt-tripping you, sending emails with him crying to the inboxes of his lost students. And if you
Ooh,
completely fell
okay.
off, he'd send another notification stating simply, "These reminders don't seem to be working." The message from Duo was clear. If you stopped
kinda
learning,
sad.
not only are you a quitter, but your actions really hurt his feelings. Now, first off, I think this is hilarious, and it definitely got a conversation around the app started. And to play devil's advocate for Duo the Owl here, languages are really hard to learn without consistent practice. And while guilt tripping might not be the best long-term
Oh.
strategy, it is effective for getting short-term results. And more or less, it did work, and it eventually became a bit of a meme, which Duo embraced wholeheartedly,
Spanish will
changing
vanish.
his future forever. In an animation called Duo's Day at Work, we're shown a typical workday for Duo the Owl. Normally, he's tirelessly texting friendly reminders to learners all over the globe, and
Damn,
suddenly a lot of what we
okay.
actually see in the app makes way more sense. Like, some of the exercises encourage us by saying, we advise you to use Duolingo every day. That checks out if it's Duo the Owl as the one poking us to continue our streaks and sending these messages out, right? Though some of these also get a bit too honest, like the green owl is trying to come up with some new sentences. At least he's being honest. Anyway, when they ignore him and refuse to ignite their streaks, well, he has to try something different, and instead he dons a giant Duo mech costume to go out into the real world.
Oh my god.
Yes, that is a thing that actually happens in this marketing. We see the results of this in an April Fool's 2019 ad for a fake feature called Duolingo Push, which, I mean, just watch this.
Since Duolingo can be used wherever you are, now Duolingo Push can remind you wherever you are.
Yeah, this feature would allow Duo to stalk and annoy users who tried to put off their studies no matter where they were. Work, the gym, on a date. Not exactly the wingman I'm looking for, my guy. But this is just the beginning. He would soon monitor his learners even more closely, flying drones in front of the homes of lapsed learners and projecting unignorable notifications on their buildings. When the menacing seemed to wear off and people started ignoring him again, Duo took a cue from Red from Angry Birds. Yes, those Angry Birds.
Oh my god.
Birds of a feather do flock together, and began having vivid fantasies about threatening people who ignored his notifications.
Holy
In reality,
shit.
he was just slamming a bowl of peanuts onto the ground. That's admittedly not groundbreaking terror, but there's clearly the beginning of an escalation here.
Oh my.
Along with his psychological warfare,
This
Duo
is
is
funny.
starting to think about using physical violence to force people to learn languages. These frustrations also started coming through in the actual exercises of the app as well. Yeah, some of the phrases spoken to learners during Duolingo's basic listening and reading comprehension
Everyone has to
exercises
die.
on the learning
Good
path
God.
were things like, I hate everybody, and you in particular. To live is to suffer, and I cry and think about sad things. Sometimes even phrases like, Duo used to love me. Clearly, this was Duo trying to communicate his sadness and frustration with listeners, but to no avail, because he takes things to the next level. Shortly after this, by March of 2022, people started disappearing, in a purely fictional sense, of course, and there was only one person to blame, Duo the Owl.
Have you been physically or emotionally injured by Duolingo?
And even worse, he was stealing Funko Pops.
Duo took my family. Next, he took my Funko Pop collection.
True.
Oh no.
This is also the first place where a lot of Duo's comical threats appeared, including...
Okay, hold on. I want to read a few of these. Okay. We have Spanish or Venice, French or the trench, Japanese or broken knees, Korean or never be seen. Yeah, that one doesn't really work. Finish or be finished, Dutch or the crutch, Greek or your teeth, Italian or the battalion, and German you Vonnen, sorry, Czechs or your neck, Portuguese or the squeeze, Latin or be flattened. Okay, I love how they all rhyme, but the German one is just like straight to the point. Just the whole German you vermin! That one speaks to me.
Including Japanese or broken knees, Latin or be flattened, and of course, Spanish or vanish. All of this carries the hilarious implication that the language you decide to learn will determine your punishment in the eyes of Duo should you fall off. Anyways, so many...
Hold on. What were the last of those? Okay, hold on. Right. Okay. Yeah. Hawaiian or you're crying, and Hebrew or you're through, Vietnamese or your grandniece, is Polish or be demolished. That one also doesn't really work. Look, Norwegian or never speak again. That one also doesn't really work too well. German you German or German you vermin still speaks to me as the best one.
Fall off. Anyways, so many people and action figures had been harassed or just straight up disappeared that the fictional law firm Minchetti & Sons began a crusade against Duo the Owl. Though Duolingo themselves called these claims lies and false information, and that they were filing a cease and desist order against the law firm. Most importantly though, Duolingo says you should definitely not call the phone number from this ad.
Text or call Minchetti & Sons now at 781-STOP.
Oh,
Yep, do not under any circumstances call that number. But, I mean, come on, we had to call that number. Yeah. And sadly, it's no longer active. But other people had the same idea and called it ages ago, playing a silly voice message that ultimately just led back to the Duolingo website. Have to say, seems suspicious, almost like Duo somehow got a hold of these people and was redirecting hate. But sadly, that's where this particular thread ends. Now, at this point, a lot of the story starts repeating itself. Duo wants more people to keep up their streaks and learn their languages, and resorts to increasingly unhinged ways of getting attention. He started a campaign to win pop star Dua Lipa's affections, befriended Hootie from the Owl House to maximize his star power, walked the pink carpet at the Barbie movie premiere, produced a parody Netflix-style reality show called Love Language, partnered with Squid Game to kidnap lapsed learners, and revealed during the 2024 Super Bowl that he had a BBL. Yes, the Duolingo owl canonically has a Brazilian butt lift. If you don't know what that is, ask your parents.
My God.
He also started getting more out of pocket with the actual content in the Duolingo app, sending out
what are they feeding this bud?
Challenges that started toying around with his darker interests. Like, how? Well, he started to warn learners that there's a man with a knife behind the curtain, and early tomorrow morning I will be at your door. Which surely had more than a few people looking over their shoulders. He even admitted to crimes, confessing, I can be a bad boy. Whoa there, Duo, you might want to keep that to yourself. But the single biggest push Duo has been making during his crusade against Duolingo dropouts, using music to reach out to them, and that makes sense. Psychologists and anthropologists believe that music is a complex yet approachable way that societies pass on their cultures, and that music can shape the world on both an individual and societal level. So, using music as a way to get people interested in language, that's absolutely a valid strategy. Though Duo's approach has been, well, uniquely threatening. This whole part of the saga started with the introduction.
I'm sorry, this is almost like that image of the Kobe with a knife.
Of Duolingo on Ice,
you know
and its biggest hit, Spanish or Vanish. And just a quick aside, but this song has the lyric, which translates to, I love human flesh. I think Duo's out for a little bit more than just blood at this point. Anyway, this was just the beginning of Duo's adventures with music. If you dive deep onto the SeatGeek website, this fictional musical actually has a full page detailing his entire set list of threats. Gotta say, I'm partial to Portuguese or the authorities, and use Mama Your Last Mia myself. And several additional songs were also released on Spotify, including the Hamilton-inspired French or the Trench, and, okay, I'll try. Ich bin ein Hans Schuss Schneeballwerfer. Yeah, there's no way.
Hold on, let me give it a try. Yeah, okay. Ich bin ein Heinz-Schneid... okay, yeah, no, that is difficult. That big-ass word. Heinz-Schuh-Naben-Ballwaffel.
Ich bin ein Handschuh-Schneeballwerfer.
That's the German word for people who need gloves to make snowballs, and it's basically just slang for coward. And also, just to keep up the snowy theme, but Duo even released a freaking Christmas album. You gotta love it. So that's a lot. Duo is now keeping an eye on his learners through push notifications on their phones, through drones flying through cities, by stalking them in the streets, and now with some irresistibly catchy music. But why? What could possibly be the reason for Duo to head down this darker path that we followed here today, becoming more and more nefarious in his antics? Honestly, what we've seen here makes him seem way more like a villain than the anti-hero he's claimed to be. So what's his motivation? Why is he doing all of this?
I don't know.
It comes down to one simple thing. When you look at what Duo actually is, it explains everything. See, while Duo the owl is, well, an owl, he shares a lot in common with another real-world animal, the kakapo, aka the owl.
Oh, here's actually something. This is actually the smallest bird on the normally in nature. Well, like ravens and such, parrots have to be taught. This thing is naturally extremely smart. But the downside is that they're pretty much almost extinct.
Owl parrot. This is a bird from New Zealand that also happens to be one of the most endangered birds in the world. And I mean, just look at this guy. He looks exactly like Duo. They're both round, fluffy, green birds with cute little legs and tiny wings. Even the little lining around their faces is basically the same. But their similarities go further than just the visual. See, the kakapo is a flightless bird. Best they can do is glide short distances, which as we all know is just falling with style. And Duo, well, he struggles in that department too. too. Within the Duolingo app, you'll rarely see Duo airborne. He's much more about jumping or gliding. What you will see from him, however, is great difficulty getting his wings to support his weight, just like a kakapo. So, okay, Duo is a kakapo owl parrot. Why does that matter?
Sense.
Well, here's where things get interesting. See, this is a pretty broad overview, but the kakapo is a figure in the folklore of the Maori, the native people of New Zealand. And according to that folklore, the kakapo is believed to have a supernatural foresight into the future. This belief stems from the kakapo only mating when the rimu tree fruited, an event that only happens once every 4 years or so. The idea is that the kakapo could literally see the future and know when the trees were going to fruit, and knew when it was time to, well, you get it. And if you want even more proof that Duo the Owl is actually a kakapo with these foresight powers, this actually really happened to me in real life, but I myself got an unprompted email from Duolingo encouraging me to continue my streak, foreseeing that I would hit a 14-day streak. I mean, come on! But now, knowing this, if Duo is an endangered owl parrot with latent psychic abilities, suddenly everything makes way more sense. Why would Duo be doing all of these heinous things? Spanish or vanish, Korean or not be seen, French or the trench. He's desperately trying to get people to learn languages because he knows something we don't. He sees something awful coming with his foresight and wants to avoid it. A dystopian future where humanity doesn't talk to each other anymore. And I mean, just look around. Every day, it feels like society is shifting further and further into isolation. Echo chambers have trapped us and global communication is breaking down. He's even tried to straight up warn us about what he sees going on in the world in the app. In other exercises on the learning path, he's told us that the government of the country is not very effective at the moment. And today there is no good news in the newspaper. And worse still, why is the government giving so much false information to the public? Remember, according to the Duo's Day at Work animation, Duo is canonically the one sending out these translations. He's the one sending these warnings because he's almost certainly seen this exact thing happen before. After he died, an in memoriam post from Duolingo's social media accounts revealed that Duo was born over 3,000 years ago, in the year 1000 BC. That in and of itself was a bit of a curveball, but that means that he's witnessed the rise and fall of numerous civilizations, the Egyptians, the Romans, the Mayans, and he doesn't want to see it happen again. And the solution is painfully simple. If we learn new languages, if we take the effort to communicate and learn about foreign cultures, expanding our horizons with new words and ideas and concepts, that teaches us so much more than just how to say, I want sushi in Japanese. That helps us grow as people and become closer together.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, the only thing I know to actually say in another language that is a complete sentence is in Japanese, and it's Umiwa mo shinderu. Well, that's like the only thing I know to actually full-on say.
And it is working. We see this through the characters inside of the Duolingo verse. Like, check this out. If we go back to the Duolingo YouTube page, you'll find some videos like I Hate Christmas, which features the character Lily talking about how much she, well, hates Christmas.
You couldn't pay me to go to your ugly sweater party.
That doesn't particularly sound like someone who enjoys to communicate, let alone go outside. And yet, Lily is all about talking to us in the Duolingo app, where you can literally call her to help practice your languages with the Call with Lily feature. She is literally connecting with you to help you learn about other peoples and cultures and languages. And that right there is ultimately Duo's goal. Why he bothers us with push notifications, encourages us to keep up our streaks, and now why he's gone out into the world to make sure that you keep learning, or else. But hey, once again, I want to thank Duolingo for reaching out to sponsor this video. Please add me on Duolingo to start your language learning journey and help me keep up my streak. Please send help. And as always, remember that it's all just a theory. A film theory. And cut.
Well, that's all enough for that, and I have nothing else to say because, oh my god, why did they make the owl so cheeked up? Alright everyone, that's going to be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. The link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of y'all next time when we flick back on. Until then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.